Look at these two visuals of this model. I have both lenses set to the same aperture and I've framed the model up within the shot so that they are as similar as they can be. The question I have for you is, why do they look so different from each other? For this specific shot, I'm going for an intimate portfolio shot. So why is the one focal length giving me that feeling that I'm trying to portray and the other one just doesn't? As you go from ultra wide to telephoto, you'll notice significant changes in how the model and the background appear, and these changes are driven by three very important factors. These considerations guide me every time I'm switching out lenses or adjusting focal lengths during a shoot. In this episode, I'll explain to you the three key differences you'll see when using different focal lengths. Remember what I said, the model is framed up the same in the shot, and I can promise you we're using the same model, even though she looks quite different from shot to shot. I'm going to keep on referencing the clearest or most obvious examples of how focal lengths vary by comparing these two focal lengths on the opposite side of the spectrum. One at ultra wide 14mm and the other at telephoto 85mm. When I compared all the focal lengths that I used within this prime lens kit, one thing that stood out to me is the distortion. Look at how the model's face changes or distorts as I scroll through the different lenses. The model's face looks so skinny on ultra wide, and as you go towards telephoto, the face starts to widen out and just look a lot more natural. It's really hectic to me how choosing the correct lens can change the way your subject's face looks. This is incredibly important. Whether you're shooting a model or a talking head or it's an interview for a documentary, if you're filming a person, you gotta make sure that your lens is not distorting your subject's face in a way that makes them look unnatural, right? Unless that is something that you are going for, which is generally not the case. So distortion, number one, so important. Our lenses from wide to telephoto have a significant role to play. Super wide is not gonna look great on your subject's face up close, but as you go from 35 to 50, which is really the sweet spot, to 85mm, then your face starts looking natural just in terms of distortion. The second thing I think of when changing a lens, and the second reason as to why these two images look so different from each other, is depth of field. Let's look at the 14mm and the 85mm side by side. Why do they look so different if they have exactly the same aperture? Which is not only associated with how much light the lens can let into the camera sensor, but also by how much is in and out of focus, or how much blurriness there is in the background. So if their aperture is the same, why is the depth of field of both lenses not the same? Well, it's because of its focal length. The higher you go in focal length, the more pleasing the blurriness is in the background. So once again, if you're going for that intimate portfolio shot, you're probably going to want to go for a warm and cozy blurry background at 50 or 85mm. So even if you are using two lenses on the opposite side of the spectrum, one at wide 14mm and another at telephoto 85mm, and they are at exactly the same aperture, it doesn't matter. The 85mm is just gonna look way better. And lastly, the third thing that I think about when selecting a lens, and the third reason as to why these two visuals look so super different, is lens compression. When your lens has a lot of compression, a cool thing happens where the background looks way bigger and closer than it actually is. It adds this extra punch to your shot, especially when you're using longer focal lengths. As filmmakers, we might choose a higher focal length or a longer lens to make things look closer together and give the scene more depth. So compare the 14mm and the 85mm again. In the 14mm, it seems like the background is really far away, but in the 85mm, the background's it basically feels like the background's about to fall on top of it. So if you're going for an intimate portfolio shot like I was going for here, I would go with either a 50 or an 85mm when just looking at lens compression. You wouldn't go for an ultra wide 14mm or a wide 25mm for that case, because the lens compression just isn't there. Having a nice amount of lens compression just adds an extra punch to your shot, especially when you're on the longer side of your focal length. So just remember, the higher the focal length, the more lens compression there is. Understanding focal lengths and what comes with those different focal lengths like distortion, depth of field, and lens compression will elevate your visuals. I gotta thank you for watching this video, and I've got a favor to ask you. Apparently YouTube, the algorithm really likes it when you click on one of these end screen videos here at the end. So select one of them. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. If you don't leave a dislike, just bounce. If you like it though, like and hit subscribe. Until next time.